We have a TLC demonstration video here. This is a TLC, or thin layer chromatography plate. On this plate we have silica gel glued to the plastic of the plate. On the back side of this we have plastic which holds the silica gel on the plate. When we mark our lines or spot on this TLC plate, we want to spot on the side where there is silica gel. We do not want to spot on the side of the plate that is plastic. Before we spot on this plate, we need to mark a line where we're going to spot on this plate. When I mark my line, I'm going to write very light in pencil across this plate so I do not scrape off any of the silica gel. If I mark too hard, I'll be scraping off the silica gel and then we won't be able to spot on that plate. Now I need to make small markings where I'm going to spot my individual compounds on this plate. I'm going to have 4 different spots on this plate, so I'm going to mark 4 different areas where I'm spotting on this plate. Again, those pencil marks were very light. I'm not scraping off silica gel from this plate. On top of this plate, I'm going to give a demonstration where I scrape off some silica gel by pressing too hard on my pencil. On the top of that plate, silica gel has been scraped off of that plate. Once we have our mark where we're going to spot, now we need to prepare our compound so that we can actually spot our compound on this plate. We have a small amount of solid compound in our small test tube. Now we're going to add solvent to dissolve that solid compound so that we can then spot that on our TLC plate. I'm going to add dichloromethane solvent to this test tube. Some of that solid compound is now dissolved in that dichloromethane. Once we have some of that solid compound dissolved in our dichloromethane solvent, then we can spot on the plate. This is the container that has our TLC pipettes. When I open this container, there are very thin glass tubes which are open on both sides. I'm going to use this TLC spotter. Once our compound is partially dissolved in this solvent, we can use our TLC spotter to withdraw some of that compound and solvent up our TLC spotter. And then we can spot on this TLC plate. When we spot on this TLC plate, we want to make small spots. Dichloromethane is a solvent which evaporates very quickly in the air, so I've spotted it once, all the dichloromethane evaporated, I spotted it again, all the dichloromethane has evaporated. I'm going to spot it one more time. Once all that dichloromethane evaporates, we still have our solid compound which we're analyzing now on this plate. We're going to make sure that we can actually see that solid compound under UV light. This is the UV light. UV light is dangerous for your eyes if you hold it too close or shine it outward, so make sure it stays face down as you're using it. Once I turn on this light, I have the TLC plate under it, and there you can see this small spot of organic compound which I spotted on the baseline on this TLC plate. After we spot our remaining compounds on the TLC plate, we're going to place that TLC plate in the development chamber, which has filter paper in it to allow that solvent to equilibrate throughout the chamber. Once that filter paper is there, we're going to put our TLC plate leaning up against the side of the chamber, but not flat against the side on the glass wall. And now we can add our solvent. The solvent level that we add needs to be halfway up to where that baseline is where we spotted our compounds. So halfway between the bottom of the TLC plate and where we spotted that compound. Once we've added enough so that our solvent level is then halfway up to where we spotted the compound, we're going to cover this with glass to allow the solvent to equilibrate throughout the chamber. It'll take about 10 minutes for the solvent to rise about 1 centimeter from the top of the plate. Once we run that plate in the chamber, we're going to mark where that solvent level is on the plate. And then we're going to analyze this plate under UV light. When we analyze the plate under UV light, you'll notice that some spots have risen to various levels up this plate. You need to circle each one of those spots that you see on the TLC plate. Once you have those spots circled, you can then turn off the UV light, and now we can analyze the plate. When we look at this plate, there are multiple locations on the plate. There's the location where we spotted our compound. There's also a location where the compound ran up to on the plate, which is all the circles I have in the middle of the plate. And there's also the location the solvent ran, which is the line near the top of the plate. When we're measuring the RF value, we want to take the distance from the point we spotted the plate to the distance the compound went up to in the middle of that circle there. We want to divide that distance by the distance the solvent front traveled, which is the distance from where we spotted all of our spots to the distance where the solvent traveled. That is the RF value which we're measuring.